My neighbor started flirting with my husband, cooking his favorite meals, and showing up in our bedroom. When I confronted him, he smiled and said, "She's just being friendly. Stop overreacting." I walked away. That was 3 days ago. This morning, he was crying in my DMs. I have a really strong belief that if my partner wants to sleep around, I'm not going to try and stop him. If I have to keep him from cheating, then he's not the right person for me anyway. I truly think I should be with someone who totally wants to be with me and won't give in when they're tempted. Let's say it falls under my responsibility to try and stop them if I knew they're going to cheat. But what about if I didn't know? I'm married. We have been together for 4 years and married for 6 months. We just moved to a new apartment and little by little we have been renovating it. We're both crafty and we want to create our dream home. We became friends with our neighbors. Also a couple. The woman is very beautiful and bubbly and I got along very well with her. She said she envied us renovating since her husband doesn't really like these things and refuses to give her money to start her own projects. She's a stay-at-home mom. I don't know about her situation with her husband, but the closer we got to them, the more I sensed that he's very careful with money. I get what she means, although I don't think he is financially abusive. Both my husband and I work. My husband works a lot from home. I have noticed that my neighbor is getting more and more friendly with my husband, instead of how it started as a friendship with me. She is very flirty and she seems to have more and more in common with my husband, especially the things I don't really like hiking, but even the smallest things like food or sweets. She has so much in common with him, as she has put it many times. Since she's a stay-at-home mom, she started making my husband his favorite food, and my husband has said on many occasions how nice it is that she cooks. Twice I came home and she's in there with my husband, helping him with the renovations or has just brought him lunch. My husband doesn't seem bothered at all, so it makes me think nothing is happening between them yet. I was telling this to my mom and she got so angry at my indifference. She said that I should ban my neighbor from being around my husband and tell him not to talk to her again. I told her that I wanted a husband who doesn't want to cheat. There are 4 billion women out there and I can't stop him from seeing all of them. He's the only one who can decide if his marriage is worth it. My mom called me deranged and she is very upset with me. I don't know what to do. I have made my opinion clear to my husband that I didn't appreciate our neighbor hanging around with him, and I even started to cook more at home. Other than that, I don't plan on having a contest with women to win my husband. I always believe if they can take him, they can keep him. My heart is full of love for him, and I can't even imagine myself cheating on him even if I was in a room full of handsome men. I just want the same in return. He hasn't done anything yet, but he has texted with her a few times. Nothing flirty, but they have texted. I hate it, but I don't know. My mom said I'm enabling this just to see if he cheats and then discard him, but all I wish is that he chooses me. I stared at my phone for a long time after mom hung up on me. Her words kept echoing in my head, especially the part about me being deranged. Maybe I was. Maybe normal wives didn't think like this. But I couldn't shake the feeling that if I had to guard Billy like some kind of possession, then what was the point? The next morning, I left for work earlier than usual. Billy was still in bed, and I kissed his forehead before grabbing my laptop bag. The marketing presentation I'd been working on needed final touches before the client meeting, but my mind kept wandering to yesterday's conversation with mom. When I got to the office, my coworker Victoria noticed something was off. She brought me coffee and sat on the edge of my desk. "Rough night?" she asked. I shrugged and took a sip. "Just family stuff." Victoria studied me for a moment. "You know, when my ex started getting friendly with his personal trainer, everyone told me I was crazy for not saying anything. They said I should have fought for him, made rules, checked his phone." She paused. I didn't. And you know what? When he finally left me for her, I realized I'd been preparing myself for it the whole time instead of actually working on our marriage. Her words hit harder than I expected. I mumbled something about needing to finish my presentation and turned back to my computer, but I couldn't focus. Was I doing the same thing? Preparing for Billy to leave instead of fighting for us? Around lunch, my phone buzzed. A text from Billy. "Lily brought over homemade lasagna. There's leftovers in the fridge for you tonight." I stared at the message. Of course she did. I typed back a simple thanks and put my phone away. The client meeting went well, but I barely remembered any of it. My boss complimented my presentation, but all I could think about was Lily in my kitchen, probably wearing something cute, laughing at Billy's jokes while he worked on installing the new backsplash we'd picked out together. I decided to leave early, maybe surprise them both by actually being there when she just happened to stop by. But as I drove home, I kept hearing mom's voice calling me deranged, and Victoria's story about preparing for the end instead of fighting for her relationship. The apartment building's parking garage was darker than usual. One of the lights had burned out. I grabbed my purse and headed for the elevator, my heels clicking against the concrete. That's when I saw them. Lily and Billy were by the mailboxes in the lobby. She was holding a package, gesturing animatedly about something. Billy was leaning against the wall, smiling at whatever story she was telling. Then she touched his arm, letting her hand linger while she laughed. I froze by the elevator doors. This was it. This was the moment I could march over there, stake my claim, tell her to back off. But I didn't. I pressed the elevator button and waited. Billy noticed me first. "Sarah, you're home early." He straightened up, and Lily's hand fell away from his arm. "Client meeting ended sooner than expected," I said, keeping my voice neutral. The elevator doors opened, and I stepped inside. "Hi, Lily." "Oh, hi." She held up the package. "I was just telling Billy about this new craft supply store I found. They have the most amazing selection of tiles. Perfect for your bathroom renovation." "That's nice." I pressed our floor number. Billy joined me in the elevator, but Lily stayed in the lobby. "I should get back," she said. "Derek will be home soon. But Billy, let me know about that hiking trail we discussed. I'd love to check it out." The elevator doors closed before he could respond. We rode up in silence. I could feel him looking at me, probably trying to gauge my reaction. Inside our apartment, the smell of lasagna lingered in the air. I set my purse down and went to change clothes. Billy followed me to the bedroom. "The client loved the campaign?" he asked, sitting on the bed. "Yeah, they did." I pulled off my blazer and hung it up. "So you're going hiking with Lily now?" He shrugged. "She mentioned there's a new trail that opened up near the river. Thought it might be fun to check out. You could come too if you want." I almost laughed. We both knew I hated hiking. That was the point, wasn't it? Another thing they had in common that I didn't share. "I'm good. I said, pulling on a comfortable sweater. You two have fun. Billy frowned. Sarah, are you upset about something? This was my chance. I could tell him how I felt, how Lily's constant presence was starting to bother me, how her touches and looks were obviously more than friendly. But then what? Demand he stop talking to her? Forbid him from going hiking? Become the controlling wife I swore I'd never be? No, I said, just tired from the presentation. He stood up and wrapped his arms around me from behind. The lasagna's really good. She used fresh basil from her garden. Of course she did. That evening I attempted to cook dinner, but we had lasagna leftovers, so I made a salad instead. Billy talked about the progress on the bathroom tile while we ate. He mentioned that Lily had offered to help since she'd done her own bathroom last year. That's helpful, I managed. My phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I almost didn't answer, but Billy was already clearing the dishes, so I stepped onto our small balcony. I've been thinking about our conversation, Mom started without preamble, and I need you to understand something. When your father had his affair, I saw the signs. The late meetings, the new cologne, the way he'd smile at his phone, and I said nothing because I trusted him. I thought our love was enough. I gripped the balcony railing. Mom, Billy isn't Dad. No, but that woman is circling him like a shark, and you're just watching it happen. Her voice cracked. I don't want you to go through what I did. What do you want me to do? I asked. Chain him to the apartment? Check his phone? Become someone I'm not? I want you to fight for your marriage. By doing what? Playing some competition with Lily? If Billy wants her instead of me, then keeping them apart won't change that. It'll just delay the inevitable. You're so stubborn, Mom said. Just like your father. That stung more than I expected. After she hung up, I stayed on the balcony, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance. Maybe I was being stubborn. Maybe I was being naive. But I couldn't shake the belief that love shouldn't require constant vigilance. When I went back inside, Billy was sketching renovation plans at the dining table. He looked up and smiled. Want to help me figure out the kitchen layout? I sat beside him, and we spent the next hour debating cabinet placement and countertop materials. It felt normal, like us. No mention of Lily or hiking or lasagna, just us, planning our future. The next few days passed in a blur of work and renovation decisions. I threw myself into a new campaign at the office, staying late to avoid thinking about what might be happening at home. Billy texted updates about the bathroom progress, always mentioning when Lily stopped by to help or bring food. Thursday afternoon, I had a dentist appointment and decided to work from home for the rest of the day. When I got to our apartment, I heard voices inside. Billy and Lily were in the bathroom and she was laughing at something. I set my laptop on the kitchen counter and started making coffee. Their voices carried through the apartment. You're so much better at this than Derek, Lily was saying. He won't even hang a picture frame. It's not that hard once you know what you're doing, Billy replied. Sarah's actually better at the detail work than I am. She's lucky to have you, Lily said, her voice softer now. Some men wouldn't put this much effort into making their wife happy. I poured my coffee and walked toward the bathroom. They were both kneeling by the bathtub, examining the new faucet installation. Lily was closer to Billy than necessary, her shoulder pressed against his as she pointed at something. How was the dentist? Billy asked when he saw me. Fine, no cavities. I leaned against the doorframe. The bathroom's looking good. Lily stood up quickly, smoothing down her sundress. I should go. I promised to pick up groceries before Derek gets home. She squeezed past me in the doorway, her perfume lingering. See you tomorrow, Billy. For the hiking trip, remember? After she left, I sat on our bed and opened my laptop. Billy continued working in the bathroom, humming some song I didn't recognize. Maybe Lily had introduced him to new music too. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia, my mom. I'm sorry for what I said. I just worry about you. Can we have lunch this weekend? I texted back that I'd think about it. Then I tried to focus on work, but the sound of Billy working in the bathroom kept distracting me. Every few minutes, his phone would ping with a text. He didn't check them right away, but I wondered if they were from her. That night, Billy showed me pictures from his phone of the bathroom progress. As he scrolled through, I caught a glimpse of his text messages. Lily's name appeared several times. He didn't try to hide it, just kept scrolling to find the right photos. What do you think about subway tile for the shower? He asked. I made appropriate responses, but my mind was elsewhere. Was this what trust looked like? Watching your husband text another woman and saying nothing? Or was Mom right? Was I just too scared to admit that my philosophy about relationships was just a way to avoid conflict? Friday morning arrived gray and drizzly. Perfect hiking weather, I thought sarcastically as I watched Billy pack his backpack. He'd bought new hiking boots last week, breaking them in around the apartment. Sure you don't want to come? He asked again. I have that presentation to finish, I lied. Besides, you know hiking's not my thing. He kissed me goodbye, and I watched from the window as he met Lily by her car. She was wearing athletic leggings and a fitted jacket, her hair in a perfect ponytail. They drove off together, and I stood there for a long time, staring at the empty parking space. I tried to work, but couldn't concentrate. Instead, I found myself cleaning the apartment, organizing things that didn't need organizing. In our bedroom closet, I found one of Lily's hair ties on the floor. The purple elastic band seemed to mock me. She'd been in our bedroom. When? Why? Billy hadn't mentioned it. I picked up the hair tie and stared at it. Such a small thing. Probably fell out when she was helping move furniture or looking at paint samples. Nothing sinister, nothing worth getting upset about. But I kept it anyway, placing it on my dresser where I'd see it. The rain stopped by noon, and weak sunlight filtered through the clouds. I made myself a sandwich and sat on the balcony, watching the city dry off. Somewhere out there, my husband was hiking with another woman. A woman who cooked his favorite foods, shared his interests, and somehow always needed his help with something. My phone rang. Victoria from work. Hey, just wanted to check if you're coming to happy hour tonight, she asked. I'd forgotten about the team happy hour. I don't think so. Billy is out, and I want to be home when he gets back. Everything okay? Victoria's voice carried concern. Yeah, just marriage stuff. The neighbor situation? I'd mentioned it briefly to her earlier in the week. Yeah, Victoria sighed. You know, I've been thinking about what I told you the other day, about my ex. I don't want you to think I regret not fighting. I just regret not communicating. There's a difference between controlling someone and expressing your needs. After we hung up, I thought about her words. Was that what I was doing? Confusing control with communication? I'd told Billy I didn't appreciate Lily hanging around frowned, but had I really explained how it made me feel? The afternoon dragged on. I finished my presentation, did laundry, and even started organizing the kitchen cabinets. Anything to keep busy. Around 4 o'clock, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Billy's laugh echoed through the door, followed by Lily's voice. I opened the door before they could knock. Billy was muddy and grinning, his new boots caked with dirt. Lily looked perfectly put together despite the 5-hour hike, just an attractive flush to her cheeks. How was it? I asked. Amazing, Billy said, pulling off his boots in the hallway. The trail follows the river for miles. You can see the whole city from the overlook. I took so many pictures, Lily added, pulling out her phone. Oh, Billy, I got that one of you by the waterfall. She showed him the phone, standing close enough that their arms touched. I watched them, noting how comfortable they seemed together, how easily they'd fallen into shared experiences I wasn't part of. I should shower, Billy said, finally noticing my silence. Thanks for driving, Lily. Anytime. It's so nice to have a hiking buddy. Derek thinks walking to the car is enough exercise. She laughed and headed toward her apartment. See you guys later. Inside, Billy went straight to the bathroom, leaving muddy footprints on our newly cleaned floors. I got the mop and cleaned them up, each swipe feeling like some kind of metaphor I didn't want to examine too closely. While he showered, I sat on our bed, staring at Lily's hair tie on my dresser. Was this the moment? Should I confront him about it? Demand to know when she'd been in our bedroom? But then I heard him singing in the shower, the same unknown song from yesterday, and I realized I was tired. Tired of watching, tired of wondering, tired of pretending I was okay with all of this. When he came out, towel around his waist, I was still sitting there. You okay? He asked, noticing my expression. I picked up the hair tie. I found this in our closet. He glanced at it. Oh yeah, Lily helped me move the dresser last week when you were at work. We were trying to see if it would fit better on the other wall. So simple, so innocent. So why did it feel like a betrayal? You didn't mention she was in our bedroom, I said quietly. Billy paused and pulling on his shirt. I didn't think it was a big deal. We were just moving furniture. Right. I stood up and walked past him. I'm going to start dinner. He caught my arm gently. Sarah, talk to me. What's really bothering you? I looked at him. This man I'd loved for 4 years, married 6 months ago. He genuinely looked confused, like he couldn't understand why I might be upset about another woman in our bedroom, another woman who touched him freely, another woman who shared his interests and cooked his favorite foods. Nothing, I said. I'm just tired. But as I walked to the kitchen, I wondered if Mom was right. Maybe I was deranged. Maybe my principles about trust and freedom were just pretty words I used to avoid the messy reality of actually fighting for my marriage. I started pulling ingredients out for dinner, determined to cook something impressive. But as I chopped vegetables, I kept thinking about Lily's perfect lasagna, her fresh basil, her easy laughter. Was this what I'd become? A woman competing with her neighbor for her own husband's attention? The knife slipped, nicking my finger. I cursed and ran it under cold water. Billy appeared instantly. Let me see, he said, taking my hand gently. He examined the cut, then got the first aid kit. As he bandaged my finger, I watched his face, focused and concerned. I love you, I said suddenly. He looked up, surprised. I love you too. But as he went back to whatever he'd been doing, I wondered if love was enough, or if Mom and Victoria were right, and I needed to do something more than just trust and hope. The weekend arrived with unusual warmth for the season. Billy suggested we work on the kitchen renovations, and I agreed eagerly. Maybe this was what we needed. Time together on our project, our dream home. But Saturday morning, Lily knocked on our door with fresh muffins and an offer to help. I love interior design, she gushed, settling at our table with her coffee. And you guys have such vision for this place. So instead of a couple's project, it became a group effort. I found myself relegated to picking paint samples while Billy and Lily discussed cabinet hardware with the enthusiasm of HGTV hosts. Derek never lets me change anything, Lily said, running her hand along our counter. He says it's a waste of money. You're so lucky, Sarah. I wanted to ask if she felt lucky when her husband controlled their finances, but I bit my tongue. That wasn't my business. Just like her growing friendship with my husband apparently wasn't my business either. Sunday brought Patricia's lunch invitation back to mind. I texted her that I'd meet her at our usual place, a small cafe downtown. Billy was planning to work on the bathroom grout. And yes, Lily had already offered to help since she had experience with it. Mom was waiting when I arrived, her expression carefully neutral. We ordered our usual salads and sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment. I'm sorry, she said finally, for calling you deranged. That was cruel. It's okay, I said, though it wasn't really. But I'm not sorry for worrying about you. She leaned forward. Sarah, sweetheart, I see you making the same mistakes I did. Trusting blindly, ignoring red flags, thinking love conquers all. Billy isn't cheating on me, I said firmly. Not yet. She stirred her iced tea, but he's enjoying the attention, and that woman knows exactly what she's doing. I thought about Lily's touches, her convenient shared interests, her constant presence. Even if that's true, what am I supposed to do? Tell him he can't have female friends? You set boundaries, Mom said. You tell him that having her in your bedroom makes you uncomfortable. You explain that her flirting isn't appropriate. You fight for your marriage instead of just hoping for the best. And if he chooses her anyway? Mom reached across the table and took my hand. Then at least you'll know you tried. Right now, you're just making it easy for them. We talked for another hour, about Dad, about her regrets, about the difference between trust and naivety. By the time I left, my head was spinning with conflicting thoughts. When I got home, the apartment smelled like paint and cleaning solution. I found Billy and Lily in the bathroom, both splattered with grout, laughing about something. Lily was kneeling next to him, her hand on his shoulder for balance. How's it going? I asked from the doorway. They both looked up, and Lily's hand stayed on Billy's shoulder for a hit too long before she removed it. Great, Billy said. Lily's a grout expert. We'll be done in no time. I should go, Lily said, standing up slowly. Derek's probably wondering where I am. After she left, I helped Billy clean up the tools. We worked in silence, the earlier laughter replaced by the sound of running water and clinking tiles. Your mom okay? He asked finally. Yeah, she's worried about me. About what? I turned to face him. About Lily. He stopped cleaning and looked at me. Sarah, we've talked about this. She's just a friend. Who's in love with you? The words hung between us. Billy shook his head. That's ridiculous. She's married. So are you. He set down the sponge he was holding. What do you want me to do? Ignore our neighbors? Be rude to her? I want you to see what everyone else sees, I said. I want you to care that it makes me uncomfortable. You said you trusted me, he countered. You said if I wanted to cheat, you wouldn't stop me. I do trust you, I said, feeling tears prick my eyes. But that doesn't mean I have to like watching another woman pursue my husband. Billy stepped closer, cupping my face in his hands. No one is pursuing me. Lily's just friendly. You're seeing things that aren't there. But as he kissed my forehead and went back to cleaning, I wondered which one of us was really blind. That night, I lay awake thinking about everything. My philosophy about relationships, Mom's warnings, Victoria's regrets, Lily's hair tie still sitting on my dresser. Was I being strong or stupid? Principled or passive? Monday morning came too soon. I dragged myself to work, grateful for the distraction of deadlines and meetings. But during lunch, I got a text from Billy. Lily brought homemade soup. Saved you some for dinner. I stared at my phone. Another meal, another gesture, another step closer to whatever line we were approaching. Instead of responding, I called Victoria. Want to grab coffee after work? We met at a place near the office. I told her everything, from my beliefs about trust to Lily's escalating behavior to Billy's obliviousness. Victoria listened without judgment, then said, "Can I ask you something? What would have to happen for you to actually do something? Where's your line?" I thought about it. I don't know. Physical cheating, I guess. So emotional affairs are okay? That's not what I said. But that's what you're accepting. She leaned back in her chair. Look, I'm not saying you should go crazy jealous wife on him, but there's a middle ground between controlling someone and having no boundaries at all. That night, I came home to find Billy cooking dinner. Actual cooking, not reheating Lily's food. The gesture touched me more than it should have. I thought we could eat together, he said. Just us. No renovations, no neighbors, just dinner. We ate by candlelight, talking about everything except Lily. It felt like old times, before the move, before the complications. I almost forgot my worries until his phone buzzed with a text. He glanced at it but didn't respond. Lily's asking about paint colors for our kitchen. At 8 p.m., he shrugged. She's excited about the project. The moment shattered. Even during our dinner, she was there, texting my husband about our home. Tuesday through Thursday blurred together. Work was busy, which helped. But every evening brought new evidence of Lily's presence. Her contributions to our renovations, her food in our fridge, her laughter echoing through our walls. Thursday night, Derek knocked on our door. Billy was in the shower, so I answered. "Is Lily here?" he asked, looking tired. "No, I haven't seen her today." He nodded slowly. "She's been spending a lot of time over here." I thought maybe. He trailed off. "Derek, is everything okay?" He laughed bitterly. "She says I don't appreciate her, that I'm stifling her creativity, that your husband understands her better than I do." My heart sank. "I'm sorry. Are you?" He looked at me directly. "Because from where I'm standing, it seems like you're just letting this happen." After he left, I stood in the doorway for a long time. Was I letting this happen? Was my trust just another word for cowardice? Friday morning, I woke up with a decision. I couldn't control Billy or Lily, but I could control myself. I could stop being passive. I could set boundaries without becoming someone I wasn't. But first, I had to get through the day. Billy mentioned he was working from home, and I kissed him goodbye with more intensity than usual. "I love you," I said against his lips. "Love you too," he murmured, already distracted by his laptop. At work, I threw myself into projects, staying focused despite the churning in my stomach. I knew what was coming. Lily would show up at our apartment. She always did when I was gone and Billy was home. But this time, I had a plan. I told my boss I was taking a half day, claiming a doctor's appointment. Instead, I drove home slowly, gathering my courage. I wasn't going to make a scene. I wasn't going to be the crazy, jealous wife. I was just going to be present. As I pulled into the parking garage, I saw Lily's car in its usual spot. Of course, I took the elevator up, my heart pounding. This wasn't about catching them doing anything wrong. This was about showing up for my marriage instead of hiding at work. I heard them before I opened the door. Lily's laugh, high and bright. Billy's lower chuckle. They were in the living room, and as I walked in, I saw them on the couch. Not touching, but close. Too close. Paint samples spread on the coffee table between them, but it was Lily's hand on Billy's knee that made me stop cold. They both looked up when they heard me. Billy immediately stood, looking guilty, but Lily didn't move. She kept her position on our couch, her hand sliding slowly off my husband's knee, and looked at me with something I finally recognized. It wasn't pity, it was challenge. "Sarah," Billy said. "Too bright, too fast. You're home early." I set my purse down carefully, my eyes never leaving Lily's. I thought I'd help with the paint selection. Lily finally stood, smoothing down her dress, another sundress despite the cool weather. "I should go. You two probably want to discuss the colors alone." "Yes," I said simply. "We do." She gathered her things slowly, deliberately. At the door, she turned back. "Billy, let me know about that new restaurant. I'd love to try it." After she left, the apartment felt too quiet. Billy stood by the couch, paint samples still scattered around him. "Sarah," he started. "No," I said, holding up my hand. "I need to say something first." I took a deep breath, my hands trembling slightly. Billy waited, his expression shifting from guilty to confused to defensive in the span of seconds. "I've been thinking about what trust really means," I began, moving to sit in the armchair across from him, and I realized I've been confusing trust with negligence. Billy sat down slowly on the couch, the paint samples crinkling under him. "Sarah, nothing happened. We were just looking at colors." With her hand on your knee, he ran his fingers through his hair. She was just being friendly. The word hung between us like a challenge. Friendly. That's what he'd been calling all of this. The cooking, the texting, the touching, just friendly. Do you remember when we first started dating? I asked. You told me about your ex, how she was jealous all the time, how she'd check your phone and interrogate you about female coworkers. Billy nodded slowly. Yeah, it was exhausting. And I promised I'd never be like that I trusted you completely. I leaned forward. But somewhere along the way, I think we both mistook my trust for permission. Permission for what? His voice had an edge now. I haven't done anything wrong. You let another woman cook for you multiple times a week. You text with her constantly. You go on 5-hour hikes alone with her. You let her in our bedroom. I ticked each point off on my fingers. And just now, you let her put her hand on your knee while sitting on our couch, looking at paint for our home. Billy stood up, pacing to the window. You're making it sound worse than it is. Lily's she's lonely. Derek doesn't pay attention to her. That's not your problem to solve. I'm not trying to solve anything. I'm just being a good neighbor. I watched him at the window, his shoulders tense. This man I'd loved for 4 years, who I'd promised to trust completely. When did being a good neighbor start requiring private hikes and intimate touches? He spun around. Intimate? Sarah, come on. You're reading too much into this. Am I? Because Derek came by last night looking for her. He said she tells him you understand her better than he does. The color drained from Billy's face. He said that? He also asked if I was just letting this happen. I stood up, suddenly exhausted. And you know what? He's right. I have been letting it happen. Not because I trust you, but because I was too scared to admit that my whole philosophy about relationships might be wrong. Billy moved toward me, but I held up my hand. I need to finish. I still believe I shouldn't have to guard you from other women. I still believe that if you want to cheat, I can't stop you. But I also believe I deserve a husband who cares when something makes me uncomfortable, who sees when another woman is pursuing him, who protects our marriage even when I'm not there to watch. I do protect our marriage, he insisted. I love you. I've never even thought about cheating. Then why didn't you tell her to take her hand off your knee? The question landed like a slap. Billy opened his mouth, then closed it. We stood there in our living room, paint samples scattered between us like evidence of a crime. Finally, he said, I didn't think it meant anything. To who? To you? To her? To me? I picked up my purse. I'm going to stay with Mom tonight. Not because I'm leaving you, but because I need to think. And you need to decide if you really don't see what's happening, or if you just don't want to see it. Billy grabbed my arm gently. Sarah, please, don't go. We can talk about this. I looked at his hand on my arm, then up at his face. We've been talking, but you haven't been listening. I left him standing there among the paint samples. As I waited for the elevator, I heard his footsteps in the hallway, but he didn't follow. Maybe he knew I needed space. Or maybe he was already texting Lily about what happened. The drive to Mom's house felt both too long and too short. I called her from the car and she answered on the first ring. I'm coming over, I said without preamble. I'll put the kettle on, she replied, and I loved her for not asking questions. Mom lived in the same house where I grew up, a 2-story colonial in the suburbs. The porch light was on when I arrived, and she met me at the door with a hug that nearly broke me. Oh, sweetheart, she murmured into my hair. We sat at her kitchen table with tea, the same table where I'd done homework and eaten countless meals. I told her everything about finding them on the couch, about our conversation, about leaving. Mom listened without interrupting, occasionally reaching over to squeeze my hand. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. I'm proud of you, she said finally. I looked up, surprised. For what? For being an idiot who let this go on too long? For standing up for yourself without losing who you are? She refilled my tea. You didn't scream or make demands. You just told him the truth. But what if he doesn't get it? What if he thinks I'm overreacting? Mom sighed. Then you'll have learned something important about your husband. My phone buzzed. A text from Billy. Please come home. We need to talk. I'm sorry. I showed it to Mom, who read it and handed the phone back. What do you want to do? I don't know. I stared at the message. Part of me wants to go back and pretend this afternoon never happened, but I can't keep pretending Lily isn't a problem. No, Mom agreed. You can't. We talked until late, Mom sharing more stories about Dad's affair that she'd kept from me before. How it started small, with a coworker who just needed help with projects. How Mom had ignored her instincts, not wanting to be the jealous wife. How by the time she finally said something, it was too late. I'm not saying Billy is having an affair, she clarified. But I am saying that boundaries exist for a reason, and it's not controlling to expect your spouse to maintain them. I slept in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by posters and photos from high school. My phone buzzed throughout the night with texts from Billy, but I didn't read them. I needed one night to think without his voice in my head. Saturday morning arrived gray and humid. I woke to the smell of coffee and bacon. Mom was in the kitchen, making breakfast like it was any other Saturday. Did you sleep? She asked. A little. I sat at the table and checked my phone. 12 texts from Billy, ranging from apologetic to frustrated to worried. One from Victoria checking in, and one from a number I didn't recognize. I opened the unknown number first. It was from Derek. I'm sorry about what I said last night. This isn't your fault. We need to talk about our spouses. I showed Mom the message. She raised an eyebrow. That's interesting. Should I respond? I think you should go home and talk to your husband first, she said. But maybe Derek has insights you need to hear. After breakfast, I drove home slowly, rehearsing what I wanted to say. But when I got to our apartment building, I saw Lily's car in the parking garage. My stomach dropped. Of course she was here. I took the elevator up, my hands shaking. The apartment door was unlocked, and I heard voices from the kitchen. Taking a deep breath, I walked in. Billy and Lily were at the dining table with coffee and what looked like homemade cinnamon rolls. They both looked up when I entered. Billy jumped to his feet. Sarah, I didn't know you were coming back this morning. Lily didn't move. She sat there in another sundress, this one yellow, looking perfectly comfortable in my home. Good morning, Sarah. I just brought over some rolls. I thought you guys might need comfort food after yesterday. The audacity took my breath away. She knew about our fight, which meant Billy had told her, which meant they'd been talking after I left. Lily, I said calmly, you need to leave. Now. She blinked, playing innocent. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude. I was just trying to help. Now, I repeated. Billy stepped forward. Sarah, she was just being nice. No, I turned to him. She wasn't being nice. She was marking territory. And the fact that you can't see that is exactly the problem. Lily stood slowly, smoothing her dress. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Billy and I are just friends. I laughed, surprising all of us. Friends don't put their hands on each other's knees. Friends don't text constantly about things that could wait. Friends don't show up the morning after a couple's fight with baked goods and sympathy. You're being paranoid, Lily said, her sweet facade cracking slightly. Am I? Then why did your husband come looking for you here? Why does he think my husband understands you better than he does? Lily's face flushed. Derek doesn't understand me. He never has. At least Billy appreciates. Stop. I held up my hand. Whatever you think is happening here, it's not. Billy is my husband. This is our home, and you're no longer welcome in it. Sarah, Billy protested. You can't just ban our neighbor? Yes, I can. I turned to him. And if you have a problem with that, then we have bigger issues than I thought. Lily gathered her purse, her movements sharp. At the door, she turned back. You know, Sarah, maybe if you shared more of his interests, he wouldn't need to find companionship elsewhere. The words stung, hitting exactly where she'd aimed, but I didn't flinch. Maybe if you worked on your own marriage instead of circling mine, you wouldn't need to find validation from unavailable men. She left, slamming the door behind her. Billy and I stood in our kitchen, the cinnamon rolls cooling between us. That was cruel, he said finally. Which part? Me setting boundaries or her implying I'm not enough for you? Billy sank into a chair. I can't believe you just did that. She's our neighbor. We have to live next to them. We have to live with each other first. I sat across from him. Billy, I need you to be honest with me. Do you have feelings for her? No. The denial came quick and forceful. God, no, I love you. Then why didn't you see what everyone else saw? He was quiet for a long moment. Maybe I liked the attention. Not in a romantic way, he added quickly. But it felt good to have someone think I was interesting. Someone who wanted to hear about my day and shared my hobbies. I want to hear about your day, but you don't want to go hiking. You don't care about the same music or movies. And that's fine, he said. I'm not saying you should. But when Lily showed interest in those things, it felt nice. The honesty hurt, but I appreciated it. So you knew she was flirting. Billy rubbed his face. I thought it was harmless. I thought as long as I didn't cross any lines, it was okay. You let her in our bedroom. To move furniture. You went on a 5-hour hike alone with her. It was just hiking. She put her hand on your knee. He fell silent at that. We sat there, the weight of months of small betrayals between us. I need to know something, I said. If I hadn't come home yesterday, what would have happened? Billy looked up sharply. Nothing. Nothing would have happened. But would you have moved her hand? Or would you have let it stay there, telling yourself it didn't mean anything? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. My phone buzzed. Another text from Derek. Can we talk? I have information you need to know. I showed Billy the message. His face went pale. What kind of information? I don't know, but I think I should find out. Billy reached for my hand. Sarah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I didn't think. That's the problem, I said gently. You didn't think about how it would make me feel. You didn't think about what Lily really wanted. You didn't think about our marriage. I want to fix this, he said desperately. Tell me how to fix this. I squeezed his hand, then let go. First, you need to understand why it needs fixing. I texted Derek back, agreeing to meet him at a coffee shop downtown. Billy wanted to come, but I told him no. This was something I needed to do alone. The coffee shop was mostly empty on a Saturday afternoon. Derek was already there, looking haggard. He stood when he saw me, attempting a smile. Thanks for coming, he said as we sat down. You said you had information? Derek pulled out his phone. Lily doesn't know I have these. He showed me a series of text messages. My stomach turned as I read them. They were between Lily and someone named Rachel. In them, Lily detailed her growing obsession with Billy, how she'd researched his interests online, how she'd timed her visits for when I was at work, how she'd practiced recipes she knew he loved, how she was sure he was starting to fall for her. She called it a project, Derek said bitterly, like seducing your husband was some kind of home improvement task. I scrolled through more messages, my hands shaking. In one, Lily described the hiking trip, how she'd worn her most flattering athletic wear, how she'd made sure to touch him whenever possible, how he'd seemed receptive. I'm filing for divorce, Derek continued. This isn't the first time. Last year it was her personal trainer. Before that, a dad from our daughter's preschool. But this time, he gestured at the phone. This time she documented it all. Derek, I'm so sorry. He laughed humorlessly. Are you? Because from what I can see, your husband was enjoying every minute of attention from my wife. The accusation stung because it held truth. He was. But he didn't understand what was really happening. Didn't understand, or didn't want to understand. It was the same question I'd been asking myself. I handed back his phone. What are you going to do? Like I said, divorce. I'm done being married to someone who needs constant validation from other men. He paused. What about you? I don't know, I admitted. Billy isn't like Lily. He didn't pursue her. He just didn't stop her. Is that better or worse? I thought about it. Different, but still painful. Derek nodded. For what it's worth, I don't think he would have actually cheated. Lily complained about that in some messages, said he always pulled back when things got too intimate. It should have made me feel better, but it didn't. Billy had let another woman pursue him for months, enjoying the attention while I trusted him completely. He'd pulled back from physical cheating. But what about emotional boundaries? When I got home, Billy was cleaning obsessively. The apartment smelled like lemon cleaner and anxiety. He looked up when I entered, hope and fear battling on his face. How did it go? I told him about the messages, watching his expression shift from disbelief to horror to shame. When I finished, he sank onto the couch. I'm an idiot, he said quietly. You're not an idiot. You're just careless with my feelings, with our marriage. What can I do? How do I make this right? I sat beside him, not touching. I think we need help. Professional help. Billy nodded immediately. Couples therapy? Yes, whatever you need. What I need, I said carefully, is a husband who sees threats to our marriage before they're sitting on our couch with their hand on his knee. That night, we slept in the same bed but didn't touch. The distance between us felt like miles. I lay awake thinking about trust and boundaries, about the fine line between controlling and caring. Sunday passed in awkward politeness. We worked on house projects separately, the renovation that had brought us together now highlighting our distance. I caught Billy checking his phone repeatedly, and each time my stomach clenched. "She's not texting," he said, noticing my attention. "I blocked her number." "When?" "Yesterday, after you left to meet Derek." It was something at least, but the damage was done. Every time his phone buzzed, I wondered. Every time he smiled at something on his screen, I questioned. This was what I'd been trying to avoid, becoming suspicious and paranoid. But maybe some suspicion was healthy. Maybe blind trust was just another form of blindness. Monday morning, I called in sick to work. I needed to research therapists, to process everything that had happened. Billy worked from home and we moved around each other like ghosts. Around noon, there was a knock at the door. We both froze. Billy looked at me, asking permission with his eyes. I nodded. It was a delivery person with a package. Billy brought it inside, checking the label. "It's from Lily," he said, his voice flat. Inside was a set of hiking boots in my size and a note. "For Sarah, in case you want to join next time. L." The passive-aggressive gesture was so perfectly Lily. Even in defeat, she had to twist the knife. Billy looked horrified. "I'll return them," he said quickly. "No." I picked up the boots. "I'll keep them. As a reminder." Of what? That some gifts come with strings attached. And that maybe I should pay more attention to what's happening in my own home. That afternoon, I made an appointment with a couples therapist for Thursday. Billy thanked me repeatedly, as if I was doing him a favor instead of trying to save our marriage. Tuesday brought new challenges. I returned to work, but concentration was impossible. Victoria noticed immediately. "You look terrible," she said bluntly during lunch. I told her everything. She listened without judgment, occasionally shaking her head. "The hiking boots were a nice touch," she said sarcastically. "Real classy." I keep thinking about what she said, about sharing his interests. Victoria snorted. "That's bull. My husband loves football. I hate it. You know what he does? He watches with his friends and then comes home to me. Because marriage isn't about being the same person. But what if Billy needs someone who shares his interests? Then he should have married someone else," Victoria said firmly. "You don't get to marry someone and then act surprised when they're exactly who they always were." Her words stayed with me through the afternoon. When I got home, Billy was cooking dinner. Actually cooking, not reheating Lily's food. "I thought we could eat together," he said hopefully. "I made your favorite." We ate in relative silence, the clink of silverware loud in the quiet. Finally, Billy spoke. "I've been thinking about what you said, about seeing threats to our marriage." He set down his fork. "I think I did see it. Part of me knew Lily was flirting, but I told myself it was harmless because I wasn't interested in her that way." "But you liked the attention." "Yes," he admitted. "I liked feeling wanted, appreciated, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I let that become more important than your feelings." "I appreciate your honesty," I said, "but I need to know this won't happen again. Not with Lily, not with anyone. It won't. I promise." But promises felt fragile now. Trust, once broken, wasn't easily repaired. Wednesday passed in a blur of work and avoided neighbors. I saw Derek in the parking garage, boxes in his arms. He nodded at me but didn't stop to talk. The marriage dissolution was already beginning next door. That evening, Billy showed me his phone. "I want you to see this," he said, opening his messages. There were several texts from Lily to his blocked number, invisible to him but somehow still delivered. They ranged from apologetic to angry to pleading. In one, she accused me of being controlling. In another, she said Billy would regret choosing his jealous wife over true friendship. "How did you see these if she's blocked?" I asked. "I unblocked her to check, then blocked her again," he admitted. "I wanted to know if she was still trying to contact me." And 17 messages since Saturday. He deleted them all as I watched. "I won't check again." Thursday arrived with rain and our first therapy appointment. Dr. Martinez was a soft-spoken woman in her 50s who listened to our story without visible judgment. "Let me understand," she said after we'd explained everything. "Sarah, you believe trust means not having to monitor or control your partner. Billy, you believed accepting attention from another woman was harmless as long as you didn't reciprocate romantically." We both nodded. "You're both right," she said, surprising us. "And you're both wrong." She explained that trust didn't mean absence of boundaries, and boundaries didn't mean control. She talked about emotional affairs, about the slippery slope of intimate friendships, about the difference between trust and willful blindness. "Sarah, your philosophy isn't wrong, but it's incomplete," she said. "Trust doesn't mean ignoring your instincts or accepting behavior that hurts you. And Billy," she continued, "enjoying attention from someone who's attracted to you is human, but indulging it when you're married is a choice that prioritizes your ego over your partner's security." We left with homework, communication exercises, boundary discussions, trust-building activities. It felt like starting over, but maybe that's what we needed. Friday morning, I woke to find Billy already up, making coffee. He handed me a mug, prepared exactly how I liked it. "I've been thinking," he said, "about the hiking thing. I know you hate it and I'm not asking you to come, but maybe we could find something new to do together, something neither of us has done before." It was a small gesture, but it meant something. "Like what?" "I don't know. Cooking classes, dance lessons, pottery?" I smiled despite everything. "Pottery could be fun." "Yeah?" He looked hopeful. "We could make our own dishes for the kitchen." For the first time since finding Lily's hand on his knee, I felt a spark of our old connection. We spent breakfast researching pottery classes, debating which studio looked best. But reality intruded when we left for work. Lily was in the hallway, dressed for the gym. She looked between us, her expression unreadable. "Good morning," she said coolly. Billy didn't respond, walking past her to the elevator. I paused, meeting her eyes. "Good morning, Lily," I said calmly. "How's Derek?" Her face tightened. "We're working through some issues." "I'm sure you are." I joined Billy at the elevator. "Good luck with that." As the doors closed, I saw her standing alone in the hallway, beautiful and furious and defeated. I didn't feel victorious, just sad for everyone involved. That weekend, Billy and I attended our first pottery class. We were terrible, our bowls lopsided and glazes uneven. But we laughed together for the first time in weeks, covered in clay, and focused on creating rather than destroying. This is nice, Billy said, attempting to center his clay for the 10th time. Even though I'm bad at it, I teased. Especially because you're bad at it, he grinned. We can be bad at it together. It wasn't fixed. Trust still felt fragile, and I caught myself checking his phone when he left it on the counter. But we were trying, both of us, together. Sunday night, as we cleaned up from dinner, Billy said, I know it doesn't erase what happened, but I want you to know, I choose you. Every day, I choose you. Even when things are hard, even when we don't share every interest, you're my person. I wanted to believe him. Most of me did. But part of me wondered what would happen the next time a beautiful woman showed interest in his hobbies. Would he remember this conversation? Would he see the threat before it was sitting on our couch? I choose you too, I said, but I need you to protect that choice, to guard it, not from me, but with me. He pulled me into a hug, and I let myself sink into it. We stood there in our kitchen, holding each other among the renovation supplies and half-finished projects. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. How are you doing, sweetheart? I showed Billy the message and typed back, we're working on it. Because that's what marriage was, I was learning. Not blind trust or constant vigilance, but something in between. Something that required both faith and boundaries, love and protection, trust and verification. As we got ready for bed, I noticed the hiking boots Lily had sent, still sitting in our closet. Tomorrow, I'd donate them. Or maybe I'd keep them after all. Not as a reminder of betrayal, but as a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous gifts come wrapped in friendly smiles and common interests. Sarah, Billy called from the bedroom. You coming to bed? I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. I looked tired but determined, like someone who'd learned that principles without boundaries were just pretty words, and trust without communication was just wishful thinking. Yeah, I called back. I'm coming. We had therapy again on Thursday. We had pottery class next Saturday. We had a marriage that needed rebuilding and trust that needed repair. But we had chosen each other, and for now, that would have to be enough. The renovation of our apartment continued, but now it felt like we were renovating more than just our home. We were rebuilding our foundation, one conversation at a time, one boundary at a time, one choice at a time. And if Lily knocked on our door again with fresh-baked goods and convenient excuses, well, this time, we'd both know exactly what to do. The next morning, I woke before dawn. Billy was still asleep, one arm thrown across the space where I usually lay. I dressed quietly and went to the kitchen, needing coffee before facing whatever came next. As the machine gurgled, I heard movement from the apartment next door. Raised voices, muffled but distinct. Derek and Lily were arguing again. I pressed my ear to the wall despite myself, catching fragments. Something about lawyers, something about custody, something about Billy. My phone vibrated on the counter. A text from an unknown number with a local area code. I opened it and nearly dropped the phone. It was a photo of Billy and Lily from their hiking trip. They were sitting on a rock overlooking the river, closer than necessary, her head tilted toward his shoulder. The angle suggested someone had taken it from a distance, maybe another hiker passing by. Another text followed. Thought you should see this. They looked pretty cozy that day. My hands shook as I stared at the image. Who would send this? And why now? Billy appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. You're up early. I turned the phone toward him. His face went white. Sarah, that's not. We were just resting. Other hikers were around. Someone must have what? I asked. Noticed how close you were sitting? Thought you looked like a couple? Decided I should know? He reached for the phone, but I pulled it back. Do you know who sent this? No. I swear. Maybe someone from the building? Someone who saw us leave together? The arguing next door grew louder. Something crashed against the wall. Then silence. Billy moved toward me. Sarah, please. This photo doesn't show anything. We were just sitting, just texting, just cooking, just renovating, just being friendly. I set the phone down. When does just become too much? Before he could answer, someone pounded on our door. We looked at each other. Then Billy went to answer it. Derek stood there, disheveled and holding a manila folder. I need to talk to both of you. Now, we let him in. He looked around our apartment, taking in the renovation supplies, the pottery we'd made last weekend sitting on the counter. His laugh was bitter. Nice place. Lily always said you two had the perfect marriage, the perfect home. He tossed the folder on our dining table. Turns out she wanted it for herself. Billy and I exchanged glances. I opened the folder and gasped. Inside were printed emails, screenshots, photos, dozens of them. She hired someone, Derek said. A private investigator, to follow you two around, document your time together, build a case. A case for what? Billy asked, though I think we both knew. For when she divorced me and came after you. Derek sank into a chair. She's done this before, 3 times. She picks a couple, befriends them, focuses on the husband, creates problems in their marriage while positioning herself as the solution. I flipped through the pages. Photos of Billy and Lily at the craft store, at the hiking trail, in our lobby. Timestamps showing how long she spent in our apartment. Transcripts of text conversations I'd never seen. Why are you showing us this? I asked. Because my lawyer says I need witnesses. And because, he looked at Billy. You're not the first guy she's done this to, but you're the first one who didn't sleep with her. Billy's face flushed. I would never. I know, Derek interrupted. That's why she got desperate. The hand on the knee, the constant visits. She usually doesn't have to work that hard. I found myself laughing, which seemed to surprise everyone, including me. So I was right. If they can take him, they can keep him. Except she couldn't take him. Sarah, Billy started. No, this is perfect. I held up a photo of them at the craft store. She documented her own crazy. Hired someone to prove she was stalking my husband. Derek nodded. My lawyer's having a field day. Between this and the texts she sent her friend about Project Billy, I'll get full custody of our daughter. Our daughter. I'd forgotten Lily had a child. A little girl who sometimes played in the hallway. Who would grow up with a mother who treated marriages like conquests. I'm sorry, I said to Derek, for all of this. He shrugged. I'm moving out today. My brother has a place across town. Lily can have the apartment until the divorce is final. He stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I think you two will make it. She threw everything at your marriage and it held. After he left, Billy and I stood in our kitchen, the folder of evidence between us. Proof of Lily's obsession. Proof of Billy's obliviousness. Proof that I'd been right to trust him, even when it hurt. Say something, Billy whispered. I picked up the photo from the hiking trail. Who do you think sent this? Does it matter? Maybe. I studied the angle, the timestamp. What if Lily sent it? One last attempt to break us? Billy took the photo, then dropped it in the trash. Then she failed. We spent the morning going through the folder together. Each photo, each transcript, each piece of evidence told the story of a woman systematically trying to destroy our marriage, and of a man who, despite enjoying the attention, never crossed the final line. This one's from 2 months ago, I said, holding up a photo of Lily bringing Billy lunch. I was at that huge client presentation. I remember. She brought soup and stayed for 2 hours talking about hiking gear. 2 hours and 14 minutes, I corrected, reading the investigator's notes. She touched your arm 17 times. Billy groaned. How did I not see this? Because you didn't want to, I said gently. And because normal people don't hire investigators to stalk their neighbors. My phone rang. Mom. Hi, sweetheart. Just checking in. How was therapy? Enlightening, I said. Mom, you're not going to believe what happened this morning. I put her on speaker and told her everything. She gasped at appropriate moments, swore when I described the photos, and fell silent when I explained about Lily's pattern. So you were right, she said finally. You didn't have to guard Billy from her. He guarded himself, I guess. I looked at Billy, who was making fresh coffee, but I think I was also wrong about some things. How so? I thought trust meant never having to worry, never having to set boundaries, never having to fight for my marriage. I accepted the mug Billy offered, but maybe trust means knowing when to do all those things. Mom was quiet for a moment. That's very wise, sweetheart. I'm proud of you. After we hung up, Billy and I returned to the folder. Near the bottom, I found something that made my blood run cold. Photos of our apartment, taken from inside, our bedroom, our bathroom, our kitchen, all when we weren't home. She had keys, I breathed. How did she? The day she helped me move furniture, Billy said, his face pale. I left her alone while I went to get tools from the storage unit. She must have. I thought about all the times things seemed slightly off. A coffee mug not where I left it. The shower curtain pulled differently. That feeling of being watched. We're changing the locks today, I said. Already texted the landlord. He's sending someone this afternoon. We worked in silence for a while, sorting through the evidence of Lily's obsession. Then Billy spoke. I need to tell you something about the hiking trip. My stomach clenched. What? She tried to kiss me at the overlook when we were taking photos. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I pulled back, made a joke about taking a selfie instead, but I never told you because you knew it would hurt me, because I knew it would end everything. The friendship, the help with renovations, the easy conversations about shared interests. He finally looked at me, and I wasn't ready to give that up. The honesty stung, but I appreciated it. What else haven't you told me? She asked me once if I ever thought about what it would be like, being with someone who understood all my hobbies, who wanted to do everything I did. What did you say? I said I already knew what that was like. I dated someone exactly like me in college. We broke up after 6 months because we bored each other to death. He reached for my hand. I don't want someone exactly like me. I want you. Even if you hate hiking and think my music is noise. Your music is noise, I said, but I squeezed his hand. The locksmith arrived after lunch. While he worked, we packed up everything Lily had given us. The food containers, the craft supplies, the hiking boots. Billy wanted to throw it all away, but I had a better idea. Let's donate it, I said. Turn her manipulation into something good. We loaded everything into boxes. As we worked, we found more evidence of her presence. A hair clip under the couch, a lipstick mark on a coffee mug I never used, a grocery list in her handwriting stuck to our fridge. How did I not see this? I asked, holding up the list. She was making herself at home. Because you trusted me, Billy said. And you trusted her. That's not a flaw, Sarah. That's who you are. The locksmith finished and handed us new keys. 4 sets. As he left, we saw Lily in the hallway with boxes. She looked smaller somehow, deflated. Her perfect hair was in a messy bun, her designer dress replaced with sweatpants. She saw us watching and straightened, trying to reclaim some dignity. I suppose Derek told you everything. He did, I said simply. She laughed, but it sounded forced. I bet you feel pretty superior right now. The wife who won. Nobody won, I said. We all lost something. Her face crumpled for a moment before she caught herself. I just wanted someone to see me, to really see me. Derek never. That's not our problem, Billy said firmly, and it never should have been. Lily flinched. She picked up her box and headed for the elevator. At the last moment, she turned back. For what it's worth, you two are solid. I threw everything I had at your marriage and couldn't even make a dent. She shifted the box in her arms. I hope you know how rare that is. The elevator doors closed on her words. That evening, Dr. Martinez called to confirm our next appointment. Billy put her on speaker. I heard there were some developments today, she said carefully. Derek contacted me about potentially needing documentation for his custody case. It's been a day, I admitted. How are you both processing this new information? Billy and I looked at each other. We're talking, he said. Really talking. About everything. Good. That's very good. I'll see you Thursday. After dinner, we sat on our balcony with the folder between us. The sun was setting, painting the city in shades of gold and pink. From next door, we could hear boxes being moved, drawers being emptied. I keep thinking about our daughter, I said. Billy looked confused. We don't have a daughter. No, but someday we might. And I wonder what we teach her about trust, about boundaries, about marriage. He considered this. I'd want her to know that trust isn't weakness, but also that it needs to be earned and maintained. And that having boundaries doesn't mean you don't trust someone, I added. It means you value what you have enough to protect it. My phone buzzed. Victoria had sent a photo from happy hour. Missing you. Hope things are better. I showed Billy the photo. My coworkers raised glasses to the camera, smiling. Normal people living normal lives without stalkers or private investigators or marriage-destroying neighbors. Do you think we'll ever feel normal again? I asked. Define normal. Not checking every text. Not wondering about every new person we meet. Not analyzing every interaction for hidden motives. Billy pulled me closer. Maybe. Or maybe we'll find a new normal. One where we're more aware but not paranoid. More careful, but not closed off. Movement in the parking lot caught my eye. Derek was loading a truck with boxes. Lily stood by their car, arms crossed, watching. Even from this distance, I could see the defeat in her posture. I actually feel sorry for her, I admitted. I don't, Billy said. She made choices. Calculated, deliberate choices to hurt people. Still, imagine being so empty that you need to steal someone else's life to feel whole. We watched until Derek drove away, Lily standing alone in the growing darkness. Then we went inside and locked our new locks, checking each one twice. The next morning brought more revelations. The anonymous photo sender had struck again, this time sending images to other neighbors. By noon, everyone in the building knew about Lily's investigation, her pattern, her obsession. Mrs. Alcroat from the third floor knocked on our door with cookies and sympathy. I always thought something was off about her, she said. Too friendly, you know? Too interested in everyone's business. The building manager called to inform us that Lily had given notice. She'd be gone by the end of the month. I'm sorry you folks had to deal with this, he said. If you need anything, documentation for a restraining order or whatnot, you let me know. Billy thanked him and hung up. We looked at each other across our kitchen, the same kitchen where Lily had served him countless meals, where she'd touched his knee, where she'd tried to claim pieces of our life. Restraining order? I asked. I don't think we need one. She's leaving. But I wondered if she was really done. If someone who'd done this 3 times before would simply give up and move on. Or if we'd spend years looking over our shoulders, wondering when she'd reappear. That afternoon, we attended our second pottery class. The instructor, Jonathan, noticed our distraction. Rough week? He asked as my bowl collapsed for the 3rd time. You could say that, I muttered. But as the class progressed, I found myself relaxing. There was something meditative about the wheel, the clay, the focus required to create rather than destroy. Billy was making a vase, his hands steady and sure. That's beautiful, I told him. He smiled. It's for you, for the kitchen window, where the light comes in. After class, we were covered in clay and laughing. For a moment, I forgot about Lily, about the photos, about the broken trust we were still rebuilding. We were just us again. But reality returned when we got home. There was a note taped to our door. Billy tensed, but I recognized the handwriting. It was from Derek. She's gone. Moved in with her sister in another state. Thought you should know. Thanks for everything. D. It's over, Billy said, relief clear in his voice. But I knew better. The physical threat might be gone, but the impact remained. In the way I now noticed when women looked at Billy too long. In how he made sure to mention every interaction with female colleagues. In our hyper-awareness of boundaries we'd once taken for granted. That night, as we prepared dinner together, Billy's phone buzzed. We both froze. He looked at the screen and laughed. It's my mom. She wants to know if we're free for dinner Sunday. Tell her yes, I said. And tell her we have a story to share. As he typed, I thought about everything that had happened. My philosophy about trust hadn't been wrong exactly, but it had been incomplete. Trust wasn't just about letting go. It was about holding on to the right things. Thursday's therapy session was intense. Dr. Martinez guided us through the revelations about Lily's investigation, her pattern of behavior, the depth of her deception. How does it feel? She asked, knowing that your instincts were correct. Validating, I admitted, but also sad. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted her to just be a lonely woman who needed friends. And Billy, how do you feel about your role in this? He shifted uncomfortably. Stupid, guilty, angry at myself for not seeing it, grateful that Sarah trusted me even when I didn't deserve it. You did deserve it, I said. You never crossed the line. But I walked right up to it and did a little dance, he replied. Dr. Martinez helped us process the trauma of invasion, the violation of having someone document our lives without consent. She gave us exercises for rebuilding safety in our home, for reestablishing boundaries as a couple. This experience can actually strengthen your marriage, she said, if you let it teach you rather than define you. Friday afternoon, I was working from home when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a woman I didn't recognize. Young, professional, holding an envelope. I opened the door cautiously. Yes? Sarah? I'm Rachel. I was friends with Lily. She held out the envelope. She asked me to give you this before she left. I told her I wouldn't, but she shrugged. Maybe you should read it. I took the envelope. Do you want to come in? God, no, I've been in your apartment enough through her photos. She turned to leave, then paused. I tried to tell her to stop when she first started talking about Billy, but she was convinced he was her soulmate, that you were just an obstacle. Did you send the anonymous photos? I asked. Rachel nodded. I thought if you saw proof, you'd confront her, make her stop. I didn't know about the private investigator until Derek's lawyer contacted me. After she left, I stared at the envelope. Part of me wanted to throw it away unread, but curiosity won. Inside was a single sheet of paper in Lily's perfect handwriting. Sarah, I won't apologize because you wouldn't believe me anyway, but I want you to know that in all my attempts, yours was the only marriage that survived. That says something about you and Billy. I've been broken for a long time, long before Derek, before the others. I see happy couples and I need to prove they're not really happy. But given the chance, the husband would choose me. Billy never did. Even when I made it easy. Even when I was everything you weren't. That must be what real love looks like. I hope I find it someday. L. I read it twice, then showed it to Billy when he got home. He read it silently, his jaw tight. Burn it, he said. No, I folded it carefully. I want to keep it. To remember. Remember what? How close we came to losing everything? How close we came to losing everything and didn't. That weekend, we threw ourselves into renovations with new energy. We painted the kitchen, installed the backsplash, hung the shelves we'd been planning for months. The The apartment transformed around us, becoming truly ours in a way it hadn't been before. Sunday dinner with Billy's parents was interesting. We told them an abbreviated version of events, leaving out the worst details. His mother was horrified. "That poor woman," she said, and I wasn't sure if she meant me or Lily. "She made her choices," Billy's father said firmly, "and you two made yours. That's what matters." As we drove home, Billy reached for my hand. "My dad's right, you know. We made choices. Every day we chose each other. Even when it was hard," I agreed, especially when it was hard. Monday morning, I returned to work with a new perspective. Victoria noticed immediately. "You look different," she said. "Lighter somehow." "Lily's gone," I explained. "Moved away. It's really over." "And you and Billy?" "We're good. Better, actually. Therapy is helping." She smiled. "I'm glad. You deserve happiness, Sarah. Both of you." That evening, we met our new neighbors, an elderly couple who downsized from a house in the suburbs. They were friendly but respectful, interested in our renovations but not intrusive. Normal neighbors having normal interactions. "This is nice," Billy said after they left. "No ulterior motives. No hidden agendas. That we know of," I joked, but it fell flat. We weren't ready to laugh about it yet. As weeks passed, life slowly returned to something resembling normal. We continued therapy, working through trust issues and communication patterns. We finished our renovations, creating the dream home we'd envisioned when we first moved in. We made more pottery, getting marginally better with each class, but traces of Lily lingered. In the way Billy now announced every interaction with women. In how I checked his phone location not from suspicion but from habit. In the folder of evidence we kept in a filing cabinet, just in case. One Thursday, Dr. Martinez asked if we'd considered couples' activities beyond pottery. "Something that challenges you both equally," she suggested, "where neither has advantage." We decided on cooking classes. Neither of us were particularly skilled in the kitchen, and it felt like a way to reclaim that space from memories of Lily's elaborate meals. The first class was a disaster. We burned the sauce, overcooked the pasta, and somehow managed to set off the smoke alarm. But we laughed through it all, creating new memories to overlay the old. "We're terrible at this," Billy said, scraping charred garlic from a pan. "Together," I corrected. "We're terrible at this together."